It was a college football playoff appearance for Notre Dame in 2020. How about in 2021? Is this team going to be that good? Are they going to have another chance to get there? Well, they lose a lot. I mean, Notre Dame got hit hard. Really one of the biggest hits we've probably seen from 2020 as far as returning production goes. I mean, you look across the board, really, this team lost a ton of production. You look at where they rank nationally in returning production, they're 123rd in returning production out of 127 teams. 123rd on offense, 108th on defense. They bring back just 49% of their overall production from last season. So a lot of holes to fill. You look at the quarterback spot, Ian Book obviously is gone. Had a great career at Notre Dame. Maybe didn't quite reach the potential that some Notre Dame fans had hoped for, but still, I mean, he was really good for them. He's going to be gone. They bring in Jack Cohen from Wisconsin, a guy that has Power 5 experience, has looked good at times in his career, at other times hasn't looked so great. We'll see how he fits there at Notre Dame. I assume he'll be the starting quarterback, but there will be a competition, obviously, and we'll see what happens there. At running back, they're solid. Kyron Williams will be back. They got some other guys back there as well, so I think they're in good shape at running back. Wide receiver has been a big area of concern for them the last couple of years, and you're going to lose Javon McKinley, the top wide receiver from last year, really the only guy that I would say was a great receiver for them. I had some other guys that were solid, but they're going to miss him. And Ben Skoranek also going to be gone, the transfer that had come in there and did a nice job for them. You need somebody to step up. That's really going to be the key for Notre Dame. We've talked about this a lot on my channel. They're just not that type of explosive offense that you need right now in college football. They don't have the type of offense that Alabama has, that Clemson has, that Oklahoma has, and it's holding them back a little bit. They still manage to be really, really good, but until they get that explosiveness on offense, I just don't know how high they're going to be able to get. They signed several 4-star wide receivers in this recruiting class, so maybe you see some freshmen on the field. They need some help at that position, and that's going to be big for them. I think that's really the biggest key for Notre Dame as you look at this program overall moving forward. But you know they're going to be good at tight end. They do lose Tommy Trimble. He left, but Michael Mayer will be back, and they've always got plenty of tight ends there at Notre Dame. One of the things that was interesting when I break down all these teams and you start looking at all the seniors coming back because you've got the extra year of eligibility, Notre Dame didn't have hardly any seniors coming back this year, which was a bit surprising. A lot of guys that probably should have come back as far as improving their NFL stock and all that, but they decided to call it a career at Notre Dame and really just don't have much of those guys coming back. And so that's another reason why they just lose so much production. You look at the offensive line, Liam Eichenberg, Aaron Banks, Tommy Kramer, all three guys are gone. They were all seniors. Well, Banks was actually, I think, just a junior. But these are really talented offensive linemen, all top-notch, great players. They're going to be gone. Big shoes to fill, but they've got other guys on the roster, and they've had some injuries, and they've been able to play different guys and build up some depth on that offensive line. So, yeah, they're going to take a step back. They won't be as good as they were up front last year, but they should still be pretty solid on that offensive line, in my opinion. Jarrett Patterson does return at center, so you get him leading the way there. Robert Hainsey as well coming back. So, again, they'll be pretty good on the offensive line. Not an area where I'm too worried about for Notre Dame. And talked about all the production that they lost on defense, but really, if you break it down and look at the entire roster, they've got a lot of guys coming back. On the defensive line, they'll miss Dalen Hayes. They'll miss Agundajay, two really good players up front. Kurt Heinisch, one of the seniors that is coming back. He'll be back there in the middle of that defensive line, and everyone else is going to be back on that defensive line. So I think they're going to be pretty strong there. At linebacker, Jeremiah Owusu-Komora going to be gone. Obviously, we're talking about one of the top linebackers in the country from last year. They will miss him, and that's a big chunk of that production gone. Everyone else, though, going to be coming back. They had a couple of transfers, nothing too major, and so the linebacker spot should be okay for Notre Dame. Not going to be – I'm not really looking at this roster and seeing any All-American type players, and maybe someone does emerge, but they'll be in pretty good shape at linebacker. They'll be solid. So, again, when you look at the front seven, Notre Dame should be pretty good, again, in 2021. Then you go to the back end, the secondary. They had one transfer, Isaiah Rutherford, not too big of a deal. Nick McLeod is a senior. He's gone. Everyone else is coming back. You look at Tariq Bracy at cornerback. He will be back. That's good news for them. Clarence Lewis will be back in the back end. Talking about the safeties, they had a couple of seniors that did decide to come back. Isaiah Pryor and Houston Griffith. Griffith was in the transfer portal, and then he came out, so he's going to stay at Notre Dame. Hasn't really made a big impact there for Notre Dame just yet, but maybe a guy with some potential. Sean Crawford coming back at safety. Kyle Hamilton. Is that maybe the best 1-2 punch at safety in the country in 2021? I think you can make an argument. So they're going to be really good there. You're going to struggle to throw the football against this Notre Dame defense, and I think that's maybe the strength of this team heading into 2021. But will they be better or worse? That's the question. They're also going to be bringing in a new defensive coordinator, so how is that going to work out? I don't really see them taking the next step and being better until they can get a little bit better, get a little bit more explosive on offense, like I mentioned. And I think you just lost too much. I think you don't know what you're going to get at quarterback. The losses on the offensive line. This is still going to be a good team. This is probably going to be a 10-win team, but I don't think they're going to be really all that close to the college football playoff. I think this team does take a little bit of a step back from where they were last year. I'm going to say that Notre Dame will be worse in 2021, but still a good team, maybe a top 10 team, a 10-win team, something like that. That's kind of what I think about this Notre Dame team as we look ahead to 2021.